Hey everyone, it's triplemangothreat, and today it's episode 4 of 10 cards you should be putting in your commander decks. Let's jump right into it. The first card we're talking about is Fallen Shinobi for 3 blue and black. It's a 5/4 zombie ninja. It has ninjutsu for 2 blue black, which means we pay the 4 mana and we can return an unblocked attacker we control to our hand, and this will be replacing it, and it will be tapped and attacking. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. Until end of turn, you may play those cards without paying their mana cost, which this is really sweet because if it's a land, we can play that if we haven't played our land this turn, and also I love casting my opponent's spells. So you're really going to find this in cards like Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow, because Yuriko loves ninjas, but really in any deck that you have blue and black in, I really just recommend this one. If you love to play your opponent's stuff, this is a really fun card to have. Or you can even have it in the Scarab God, because yes, it's a zombie, so you'll be able to have each opponent lose 1 life off of this. You get to scry 1, so it has some pretty important creature types, and it's a 5/4, which is really helpful as well. And don't let the ninjutsu fool you. This is actually a really powerful ability, especially if we're attacking with a 1/1. It's really likely our opponents aren't going to make a big deal out of 1 damage. They'll probably take the 1 damage, and in response, we can ninjutsu this one out. I really like this card, so again, if you love playing your opponent's spells, start playing this one. Adarkar Valkyrie for 4 white, it's a 4/5 angel with flying and vigilance. We can tap it. When target creature other than Adarkar Valkyrie dies this turn, return that card to the battlefield under your control. I love this card, and I think it's highly underrated, because whatever creature dies, this could be an Avenger of Zendikar. It could be someone's Muldrifter, you know. Any deck that loves to sacrifice things, this is going to work great with, especially if it's non-token, because tokens we're not going to be able to interact with. But yes, this is a great one, and again, I love to take my opponent's stuff, so add this one to your decks. Next up, we're talking about Sire of Stagnation for 4 blue-black. It's a 5/7 Eldrazi with Devoid, meaning this card has no color. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player exiles the top 2 cards of his or her library, and you draw 2 cards. This is really insane, because if our opponents want to play their land, they're going to have to exile the top 2 cards of their library, which what's really horrible is that this could possibly stop someone from playing their lands, because they're like, I don't want to play a land and have my opponent draw 2 cards off of this, and I'm also exiling the top 2 cards of my library. It's a very harsh card to have played against you, but also super great for card draw. I know it's 6 mana, and that's probably why a lot of people don't want to play this, and I love this because it's not just when they play a land, it's whenever a land enters the battlefield under their control. So that's really going to help whenever they have ways to put extra lands onto their battlefield, so when they ramp, when they use cards like Cultivate and Explosive Vegetation, we're actually going to draw cards off of those lands entering their battlefield. It's going to be super rough for them and really awesome for us. Sabo's Web for 2 mana. It's an artifact. When it comes into play, we're going to draw a card. So already for 2 mana, not too bad. But more importantly, lands with an activated ability that doesn't produce mana don't untap during their controller's untap steps. So what's crazy about this is that we are shutting off all Fabled Passages, and that means all lands like Terramorphic Expanse, more importantly, the fetch lands. Yes, it's insane. We are shutting off a lot of decks with this. So depending on your meta, this can be very powerful. So if your opponents are playing a lot of fetch lands, this is one I really have to recommend. Ashes of the Abhorrent for 1 and a white. It's an enchantment. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or activate abilities of cards in graveyards. So for 2 mana, we just shut off Muldrotha. Yeah, that's insane. Any graveyard deck is going to be destroyed just for 2 mana. Yeah, it's super powerful, and you really want to play this, especially if you're not interacting with your graveyard, because this says players, so you are affected as well. And we get the little bonus of whenever a creature dies, you gain 1 life, which could be really good against decks that love to sacrifice their creatures. So again, depending on your meta, this can be a really great card for your upcoming games. Blanket of Night for 1 black. It's an enchantment. Each mana producing land is a swamp in addition to its normal land type. So now you don't have to pay the $15-20 for Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. You can now just get an enchantment for 3 mana in order to do this same thing. Yes, I know you have to pay 3 mana. It's more likely to be destroyed because it's not a land, but this is a great budget option, especially for the price. This is 62 cents as of right now, which is insane. So if you want to help out your deck, being able to tap for a swamp in addition, this is a great way to do it. Abjure for 1 blue. It's an instant. Sacrifice a blue permanent counter target spell. Now, this may not seem like a lot to you, but I think this is a great counter spell, honestly. Sacrificing a blue permanent can't be an island because it's colorless, but for 1 blue, it's as if, at least to me, this is like a force of will. They're not really going to expect it because counterspell is 2 blue. blue. When we have 1 blue and however many blue permanents, we can now start countering spells, and there are ways to get Abjure back. You know, we have Archaeomancer. This is a very popular card. We can grab an instant or sorcery back from our grave to our hand, so we can again cast this later. So depending on your meta, this might be one for you to try out. Aetherize for 3 and a blue, it's an instant, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. I really like this one because usually our opponents aren't going to expect it. And really, I do consider this a budget Cyclonic Rift. I know it doesn't affect every opponent, but this can be very devastating, especially if they're attacking with a lot of tokens, because they just go away. They're not able to come back, and whatever creatures they had on their battlefield that were attacking us go back to their hand, and that's going to be a lot for them to catch up with. And they don't even have to be attacking us. They can be attacking someone else, and we can use this for political purposes. I saved your life, now you have to save mine, or you owe me a favor later in the game. So yeah, for 4 mana, this is a great one to pick up. Boneyard Parlay for 5 black, it's a sorcery. Exile up to 5 target creature cards from graveyards. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. Put all cards from the pile of your choice onto the battlefield under your control and the rest into their owner's graveyards. This is a fact or fiction with creatures already in the graveyard. This is insane, especially for 7 mana. This is awesome. I mean, if I have sweet creatures in my grave, I can put them in the pile of 5, or if my opponents have really awesome creatures, I can also take advantage of that as well. And you know, sometimes in my play group, we get a little silly because some of my opponents will put all 5 into one pile, and I can choose to put those onto the battlefield, but of course, I may owe them a favor later. Again, politics can be used with this as well. We can probably convince our opponents, hey, you give me all 5, I owe you a favor later in the game, or I won't swing at you with these creatures. This is one to definitely consider. And the last card we're talking about is Ark of Orazca. It's a land with Ascend, which means if we control 10 or more permanents, we get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. We can tap it to add a colorless, or more importantly, we can pay 5 and tap it to draw a card. We can only activate this if we have the city's blessing. This may not look like a lot to you, but drawing cards is really important in Commander, or really any game of Magic. So if you're in a mono-white deck, this might be a great option for you. I mean, I really think it is a great option because there's not a lot of ways to draw cards in white or even mono-red. Blue, black, and green pretty much have everything covered with drawing cards. They're either black's losing life to do so, blue's just paying mana, or green is also drawing cards because they just have to pay mana. Yeah, I'll cover that in a future video for sure. But Ark of Orazca is going to make it where we can actually draw an additional card if we have 5 mana to spare, which that might be it because we may have a dead hand. Anyways, I love this land, and let me know if you actually use this card in your deck. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like any of these cards, you can use the TCG link down below in the description to help out the channel at no additional cost to you. If you'd like to spice up your cards, you can do so with Altar Sleeves. You can use the code triplemangothreat to get 5% off your order. If you'd like to become a patron, you can support this channel and see your name at the end of the videos. Be sure to comment below what you thought of these 10 cards and subscribe for more Mango content. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.